Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Today's Dhamma talk number 12. Yeah. Series A, Dhamma talk number 12. Last two talks we were talking about with regard to unpleasant feeling, dukkha vedana. And in here we are talking under the heading of how to make it stronger, firmer, and sharper, the 5 controlling mental faculties, which are faith and confidence, effort, mindfulness, concentration, and insight. To make them firmer and stronger, there are many aspects that we have been taught to practice. And one of the topic is to practice seriously and penetratively and respectfully. And in there are many ways that we dealt with. One is we observed or we are mindful so that we can overcome the unpleasant sensation, dukkha vedana, or we simply call it pain as meditative. We have gone through various types of pains from physical source, from mental source, and in there from the emotional source, and so on. And also we have already dealt with in relation to the various stages of insight with regard to pain. Because this whole Dhamma talk is trying to tie with the insights, or in other words, based on the level of insights, we try to explain our practice. And in here, we need to be very careful. As soon as we say level of insights, insight 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on, one tends to emphasize on these insights, or one try to gauge where am I with regard to these insights, level of insights. In other words, your focus and your attentions become laser sharp onto the level of insights. In other words, you just want to know where you are, how far you have come. And if you do that way, that's not the correct way. Okay? These 13 stages of insights were taught to us so that we can understand, okay, scripturally, theoretically, how this whole meditation process works. Okay? We categorize, we put a label, name, and then explain. But if you emphasize too deeply, where am I with regard to this insight, am I on number 1 or number 5 or number 10, then your path is deviated. We have already explained about this dukkha vedana, unpleasant feeling and sensation. You can experience at 3, you can experience at 5 and 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and so on. All throughout. So instead of focusing on where, at what level of insight am I, you simply focus on, I'm experiencing painful sensation, dukkha vedana. And my job is to observe and meditate to overcome this painful sensation. That's it. That's where the focus should be. That's where the focus must be, to overcome these painful feeling and sensation. Doesn't matter whether in insight 3 or insight 6 or insight 10. That's where the focus should not be. Of course, when you have some spare time, you want to reflect upon it, that is fine. But in practice, there's only one objective. I'm in the face, or I am in the present moment of painful sensation, and I am going to overcome this painful sensation. That's it. That's the only objective. That's the only focus. And if you set your mind like that, you have set your mind correctly. Your attitude is correct. If you set your mind on the levels of insight, you have set your mind incorrectly, because you will always be wrestling with where I am. Where am I? I become really the main focus. How far have I risen? But simply to overcome painful sensation, that is what the practice about. So that is one thing yogis should be very careful about. So we have talked quite a bit about this painful sensation, dukkha vedana. But this vedana or feeling, unpleasant is not the only one. There are unpleasant feelings, and there are also pleasant feelings. And also there are also neither pleasant or unpleasant feeling, neutral feeling, different kind of feelings. We know where we come across this painful feeling, and at the same time, once you overcome the unpleasant feeling or painful sensation, especially at that level of insight number 3, which is mostly dominated by the painful sensation from the physical source, aches and pains and numbness, and whether in the knees or hips or joints or back, neck, and so on. All these feelings, nauseated feeling, dizzy feeling, totally unsettled feeling, these are all at the level of number 3. And you observe and observe and observe. Finally, you overcome that feeling. What is that? Unpleasant feeling at the insight level number 3. So when you overcome that feeling, what has happened was your momentum on mindfulness is very, very strong. As the momentum on your mindfulness is strong, your concentration is also very strong and firm, because you have a continuous noting. You can see the rising and falling, sitting, touching, and so on. Without any discursive thought thoughts intruding or interrupting. That's where you are. Suddenly you can see the rising movement from the beginning to the end. Rising, beginning, and then there's the end. Falling movement, the beginning and the end. And lifting, pushing, dropping. Every movement, every behavior. And even the thoughts, there's quite a clarity on it. You see with very clear aspect of all physical and mental movements and behaviors. You see the beginning with clarity and you see the ending with clarity. So that is the stage you start to come in. And when you got to that state, there's another unique thing also happen. Before you have to put effort to observe, okay, to see this rising movement, the beginning, successive stages, and you have to really focus. You have to direct the attention. You have to be there. You really squeeze everything that you have to be there at that present moment. But suddenly, when you got to this stage, you don't need that effort anymore. Okay? You don't really need to direct anymore. You don't have to really channel into it anymore. The rising movement is happening. It is just rising and then falling and rising and falling. It seems like automatically it's happening on its own. There's a rising and there's falling and there's a rising and a falling. And also the mind that notes it or the mind that knows it is that knowing process with precision. Precision. It's happening. In other words, it began to feel like it's an automatic rising movement, beginning, the end, falling movement, beginning and the mind. The mind that knows it exactly happen. It seems like more like automatic. You don't have to really direct and focus to be there. Before you have to put a lot of energy. That's why we call it ardent energy. Ardent energy. You have to really put double the effort, triple the effort to be with that object so that you won't miss it. And in this stage, it's automatic. You don't need to double or triple your effort. It's automatically going, rising movement, falling movement. And you can see it as if it is happening on its own. Not as if it is happening on its own. And then there's a mind that knows it with precision, with precision, with precision. So that is the difference in nature, what happened in there. That means you have passed over the third level of insight, Samasana Jnana. Okay? The comprehension of the three characteristics of mind and matter. And then you have stepped into the boundary of Uddiyapaya Jnana, insight knowledge into the arising and passing away. But one thing was, you see with clarity, you see without being, with no hastiness, and there's also no slowness. It is rhythmically happening as the body is regulating on its own based on the condition. There's no hurriedness and there's no slowness. The tempo is really good. And even if there's a break in tempo, you can see that break in tempo with clarity and sharpness. So you are at the beginning stages of the insight number 4, okay? Arising and passing away. That is what happened. With that, you start to become aware of it. And also, okay, Don't think that it will be continuously happening. That just come in and then it just break off and go back into that number 3 level. And then come in again, this kind of really good rhythmic section, about 5-10 minutes, and then you break down again. You will see these kind of things. And especially at the beginning, you will see that rising movement. Okay? As soon as a rising movement happens, or as soon as a physical process or mental process happens, you sharply know the beginning, and when it ends, you sharply know the ends with clarity, and there's no continuation or continuity between this one object ending and the next object beginning. That kind of clarity is there. So now we are right there. You have stepped into the boundary of the 4th level of insight. It's really good because now you don't feel like you are being restrained. You don't feel like you are in a straitjacket. You are quite relaxed. Your body is loose. And in here, I will draw in a little example from the samatha meditation, concentration meditation. In a samatha meditation, when you have a very good concentration, samadhi, then what happened was they began to experience 2 mental states. One is called piti, rapture, and another one is sukha, the bliss. Okay? Piti and sukha. And in samatha meditation, these piti and sukhas are very pronounced, and it functions in a very distinct way, and it is described in details. Okay, how these are, even piti, there are 5 kinds of pitis, and each one is better than the other, and how each ones are. So there may be some yogis here who had practiced samatha meditation, are aware of it, aware of these kind of piti and sukha. Okay. For those people, it's a caution. Don't try to expect that kind of rapture and bliss in this vipassana. Don't expect. If you expect, and if you are looking forward to it, and if you are searching these kind of things to arise, okay, you may find it, you may not find it, and especially if you don't find it, you might be in a state of confusion, or you might have doubts. That is one thing to be very careful about. So in here too, similar to this piti and sukha, okay, you can call it vipassana piti or vipassana sukha. You can call it that way. And the way it manifests is you're meditating, okay, and suddenly you found yourself, you can note these rising and falling and all these objects very easily without effort, and you don't miss a beat. And then when you've gone into that for some time, to that state some time, okay, you begin to feel the body feeling of lightness. Okay. What the body of feeling lightness is, let's say now you are sitting, actually close your eyes and sense your whole body. Sense it without looking at anything, just the whole body, sense it. You will feel the tightness, you will feel the pressure, you will feel the heaviness, you will feel the pull of the gravity. You will feel pressure when one part of the limbs pressing upon the other, one part of the legs pressing upon other. You will feel pressure at the buttocks area. That is what it's exactly happening, and that's what your mind knows. And what the mind knows, and that is what you experience. But in here, when you are in that stage, or let's call it in that zone of let's call it number 4 zone. And that's so, feel lightness. Lightness means you don't feel any stiffness. You don't feel any heaviness. You don't feel any pressure. Nothing. Okay? All these pull of the gravity, that senses that you can feel right now, is not there. Like you felt like you are floating. You are floating. That's what it means by lightness. You feel like you are floating, and sometimes you even feel like you are not actually sitting. You are not sitting on the floor. You are not sitting on the bum because there is no pressure. Okay? That's what it means. And you feel like as if you are, for lack of a better word, levitating. Because you are not in touch with anything, and there is no space in your body with any pressure. That's a kind of feeling. Okay. Lightness. You will definitely feel. Everybody who practices, if you are in that zone, you will feel it. And then there's another feeling. Another feeling is, another sensation is, whatever you are doing, whether you are standing or whether you are sitting or whether you are leaning, okay, you know exactly the perfect position to be in. That's a way to explain it. Okay. To explain it in a different way, okay, I will draw example for the opposite angle. Opposite angle is, let's say, we try to sit down, especially right at the beginning. We sit down, there's a cushion, you roll a little cushion, push a cushion, and straighten your body, straining, and a little bit tight here, a little bit tight there, adjust it. My hands a little bit here, a little bit there. You adjust it so that you can get a perfect position. So you believe that you can maintain that position for a long period of time, for an hour. You try to get that perfect little position by twisting, turning, adjusting, leaning, grinding. Then you got that position. Okay. But when you are in that number 4 zone, let's say you are now doing a walking meditation. Time to sit down, you come in. You come in and you lean, bend, push, sit down. Right away, everything is in a continuous position. As soon as you sit down, you don't need to adjust anything. You have already have the perfect position. And when you are leaning too, you have the perfect leaning position. When you are bending, you have the perfect bending position. Nothing is out of balance. And you sit down, and as if you are, let's say, a big beanbag cushion, you sit it down and you just sink into it. Just like that. Everything you do. You are going to stand up, everything is in perfect position. Even though you have a pain, even though you have a knee pain, at that moment, everything is perfect when you are in that zone. So your body is always in a perfect position, whatever you do, whether you are sitting or whether you are standing. Your body is perfectly moldable and perfectly supple. But at the first instinct, you are already have the perfect posture. That kind of feeling or sensation. And then there's another one. Your body and the mind will go from the what it not used to be or what it used to be. What it used to be is we sit down, we sit for an hour. Within an hour, what happened? Sometimes a little bit tight here, sometimes a little bit tight there. Maybe some people might have to adjust the position once or twice within an hour. Some people don't have to adjust at all for the whole hour without moving that position. You can maintain it. And also your body, you keep the upright position, it's there. But normally some people, especially when you get old, you can become hunch and go like this. These kind of things happen. Because sometimes there's an exhaustion of the body, and sometimes there's an exhaustion of the mind, and the body manifest and express that exhaustion of the body and the mind. But when you are in this number 4 zone, what happens is this body and this mind is perfect. Perfect in the sense super fit. Okay. People who are training for Olympics, how fit they are for their purpose and the jobs ahead. Just like that, your body is very fit and the mind is very fit. Throughout the whole day, throughout the whole period, you don't have any physical exhaustion or mental exhaustion. It is so fit to take on the task. That is another feeling or sensation. So just imagine you have a mind that is not exhausted but fit, the body that is fit, and every things that you do, it is always instantly you got the first perfect position or posture, standing or sitting, and then your body is light. Overall, if you put all these together, what happened? You have a fantastically good feeling. Just one word. You have a fantastically good feeling. Fantastically good, very calm, and very peaceful. And these are the process of the Vipassana, rapture. We don't call it bliss, we call it comfort. Sukha. In samatha concentration, they call bliss. In Vipassana, we call it comfort. The comfort of the body and the comfort of the mind. And you have totally calm and peaceful and fantastically good feeling. That automatically comes with that observing the mind, the object rising, falling, beginning, perfect, middle, perfect, end, perfect. You see synchronicity between the movement and the mind, and that knows perfect. Those are the one. And that is called Vipassana Sukha. That is overall. But there are other things that you can experience too, because everyone has a different nature of mind. Some people who had previous experience of samatha meditation. They had practiced quite intensely before. And also some people who had previous experience of samatha meditation from past life. Past life. They might not practice this life, but they already have it. And you can tell by looking at the person. These kind of people, they experience in many different ways. Okay. Sometimes they see great lights. Okay, lights of I won't explain in too details. Different shades, different colors. It gives you different feeling. It gives you a feeling of red. You are in a cocoon. You will get feeling that it is the light is guarding. You're in a womb. That kind of things. And even in these lights, there's some see without insight. Some see with some insight. Whenever you say insight, it's anicca, dukkha, and anatta. That is the finality of insight. Anicca, dukkha, and anatta. These kind of lives you can see. Sometimes you see in a different way. Okay. Sometimes you are looking at something, touching at something, and everything just melts down. Okay. So to speak, it is unusual experience for normal. But those kind of experience, okay, the people with samatha concentration previously or a lot from the past life, they will experience these kind of not easy to explain, okay, experiences. You can call it special effects, but these special effects are all about anicca, dukkha, and anatta. Sometimes you're walking meditation and suddenly you don't see a person, you see just a big skeleton, glog, lifting, pushing, dropping, that kind of a thing. So when people tell you, I experienced this, I experienced that, don't expect to experience these things. If it doesn't come, no, I don't have it, I'm lacking something. No. Everybody, based on their own past experience and the inclination of the mind, they will experience differently. But the one that I mentioned to you, feeling being light, feeling being supple, feeling being fit, that is Vipassana comfort, is definitely you will experience. Over and above, you will experience these things. But the funny thing is, yogis don't describe these, what I just mentioned. They only explain and describe about these kind of special effects, that is unusual experience. They think those are the insight. Those are, yes, definitely insight, but it is based on the inclination of the mind you experience differently. The other one is the body and the mind, totally in a very calm, peaceful feeling one will be experiencing. I try to explain this much. The reason is, this is the level of insight that you will be feeling these things, and these things in one word is called sukha vedana, pleasant feeling. Everything is the pleasant feeling. It feels very good, very great, fantastic. So good, some of the yogis are stuck there in that zone for months and months. They don't go over. Some people, they go quite fast. Some people, they only stay there for a few days. And that depends on the paramis. Paramis mean, in the past life, you have already practiced it. So those who have practiced it, Vipassana, in many past life, they go through very fast. Those who have practiced a lot of samatha in the past life, they are stuck in this zone for a long time. But regardless, there's a guide here. The guide here is, these are pleasant feeling, all the niceties, all these special effects, fantastic that you experience something you don't even imagine before. And you like it, you crave for it, you feel good about it. In other words, you are starting to form attachment towards these feelings. Attachment towards the feeling. Not obviously, okay? Obviously what we're saying was, okay, this feeling come in, you observe. So you think you're observing, but if it doesn't go away, that means you are not really correctly, precisely observing. You are observing superficially. Some people see lights, lots of various lights and colors. They stay in colors. They will see that colors for months and months and months. They sit down, within 5-10 minutes they can see color. So in here, whenever you come to these stages, you have to actually drop whatever that is and zoom into that feeling of peace and feeling of comfort. You observe. It's peaceful, 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 comfort, comfort, comfort. Not on the word, the actual sensation. You have to observe that. And when you observe that intensely, penetratively, seriously, what happened was, these feelings, okay, you still feel it, and sometime you're observing and suddenly that feeling disappears. It comes back again. Feeling disappear and come back again. You will find that first. And slowly, if you don't give up and try to observe these peaceful feelings objectively, what happened was that break between the comfortable and peaceful feeling becomes more frequent. Feels good, disappear, feels good, disappear, feels good, disappear. And eventually it becomes quite frustrating because a part of us is we are still attached to that good feeling. But at the same time, you can't enjoy it continuously because somewhere in the middle it disappears, somewhere in the middle disappears. So it becomes quite frustrating. And eventually to the point of you come to the senses without thinking, without a thought process. You come to a feeling. Well, these peaceful feelings and comfortable feelings, they are like anything else. They come and they go. They come and they go. They disappear, they disappear, they disappear. They are impermanence. They are impermanence. You begin to feel that sense of impermanence in that great comfort zone. But when you began to see that, you began to understand these sukha vedana, pleasant feeling, are just the front. Actually they are unpleasant feeling, dukkha vedana. Dukkha vedana in disguise presented as a sukha vedana. That kind of understanding arises in you. When that kind of understanding arises in you, that means your attachment, your craving for that peaceful feeling and comfortable feeling, you are starting to overcome. And eventually that breakdown of the peaceful feeling is so much, okay, you don't even feel that peaceful feeling anymore. Feeling seems like peaceful feeling arises, but as soon as you think it arises, it's already gone. That means you are at the border between the number 4 insights and number 5 insight. One must observe these unpleasant feelings so intense so that you accurately see their disappearance in a rapid succession and begin to feel all these peace and calms are a reality. It's a suffering in disguise. That's how you overcome unpleasant feeling. So now we know how to overcome the unpleasant feeling, and we also know how to overcome the pleasant feeling. Dukkha Vedana and Sukha Vedana. And then we practice. We practice, and we are when you are at a very high level, we already know, like insight level number 10. And your number 10, that is the make or break time, the worst suffering you ever experience. And when I say worst, there's exception that needs to be noted. Some people experience extreme suffering in number 3 level. Extreme, like totally unbearable. Extreme suffering for a longer period of time. And those people, when they come to number 10, they don't suffer as much. Some people, they just slide and glide through that number 3 level. Quite easily they can pass it. They don't suffer too much. They overcome it quite easily. And those kind of yogis, they suffer intensely in number 10. You have a price to pay heavily on number 3 or number 10. So keep that in mind. Don't think that formula is static. There's a variation in it. So in here, you go to number 10, make it or break it, and finally you make it. When you make it, you come to the point of, you can see all these nama and rupa, mind and matter. Mind and matter, it is not simply just, rising, touching, falling, not that anymore. It is one after the other. Okay? There's a rising movement and there's a flicker of thought. A flicker. It is not even a thought, a flicker of thought. And there's a falling movement, there's a pressure, there's intense, there's a sound coming, there's a bird coming. But everything is like a flow. Everything is like a flow. But on that flow, you can see them too. You can see them, they are flowing one after the other. In other words, all different objects, different looking objects. Of course, there are only 2 objects, nama and rupa, mind and matter. But the mind represents in the various formats and the matter represents in the various formats, all their specific characteristics. They seem like in a flow, one after the other. And what happened at that moment was, they are like a constant state of flow and you are aware of everything. Nothing misses. Number 4 is you see the beginning, you see the end, that kind of a thing. And here is on the number 11, Sankharupekha Jnana. You see like a flow, all these mind and matter, or phenomenon of mind and matter, the process of mind and matter is in a continuous state of flow. And you see them quite easily. Not only that you see them, they are more like a state of flow. Okay, as if like a waterfall, the water just coming down. And you are from a distance about 50 feet away, you sit and observe. You see everything, the water, the little droplets, the little mist, and you need to do nothing. You simply observed, like a third person. The other one is a state of flow, and you are aware of it, you are aware of it, you are aware of it. No effort needed, nothing is needed. Everything is happening on its own. In other words, you don't even have to participate it. That is number 11 state. But when that is happening, okay, at that stage, there is another feeling arises, the third feeling. The third feeling is called neither pleasant or unpleasant feeling. Okay. Or a neutral feeling. Okay. A neutral feeling. What it is you know everything and you do not become attractive to that flow of nama and rupa. And at the same time, you don't have any aversion towards it. It is happening on its own and you are there and there's nothing to do with it. Sometimes, like you can even say the word or use the word indifference. Indifference, whatever it's happening. Loud noise, nothing. Low noise, nothing. Every flow's nothing. You simply know and it doesn't affect you anymore. So in here too, that is a neutral feeling. But in neutral feeling too, there is another kind of states happen. As it is indifference, you don't really probe and investigate deep into that nature. So as you don't probe into that nature, you cannot really sense that feeling of indifference. You cannot really feel the neutral feeling. And that neutral feeling is so subtle, it is difficult to observe that neutral feeling. But it seems like everything okay. I am mindful at every moment, every nanosecond. That is the sense you have. I am mindful because I know everything. Everything is I know. And nothing affects me adversely or lovingly. Either way, that is where you are. And if that's the case, if you keep on doing like that, you will be there for a long time. And then the instruction is given to our teachers and all the sages is, at that moment, as it is so difficult to observe the neutral feeling, but neutral feeling is there. Because of the neutral, there's no aversion and no craving. That's why it is neutral, indifferent. And that's why Sankarupaka Jnana is translated as insight knowledge into equanimity. You are always equanimous. Regardless how bad it is, you are equanimous. Regardless how good it is, you are equanimous. So in here, you still need to overcome that feeling. Still, this is a feeling. The first one is unpleasant feeling. The second one is pleasant feeling. This is neutral feeling. And our instruction is to overcome all feelings. And it is very, very difficult to overcome this neutral feeling. So what you do was, at that moment, instead of trying to probe into the neutral feeling, which you cannot truly detect, you change your technique. Technique is you just assume that you are starting and just go back. Okay? Instead of following the flow of nama and rupa, you specifically focus to your grade one. Rising, sitting, falling, touching, rising, sitting, falling, touching. one at a time. You purposely look only that. But you have graduated throughout. Grade 1 to grade 10 already have done, you already know. So what happened was, by doing so, you are making yourself to see the beginning and the end. And if you have seen the beginning and the end, you can see the beginning and the end quite quickly. As you have seen the ending, Benganyana, knowledge of the solution, you can see the passing away quite clearly, quickly. But you have to pull yourself down from that state of the flow back into the square one and see it, so that you can see the ending. And by repeatedly going back and forth, what happened is you began to see the ending in the flow. Before you see the flow, you see in that flow there are many different objects, and you think there is each objects are unconnected, so there's the beginning and the end. That's how the mind perceived. But by going back and forth to grade 1 to grade 10, grade 1 to grade 10, and you really are trying to refocus to see the ending, anicca, anicca, anicca. When you see that, then in that flow of nama and rupa, you begin to see with clarity the solution or the ending. Only then you can pass over that. Otherwise, you'll be stuck there forever. And some people, they even think they are enlightened and that's it. Because you see every nama and rupa in a state of flow, there's no missing. You're constantly mindful. There's no lobha, there's no dosa, no moha. Because in a state of neutrality, there's no aversion and no craving. And you think you have the perfect mind and you think you are enlightened. There are some yogis who are stuck there believing that they are already enlightened. But we are being instructed by our teachers and teachers, no, you must see the disappearance or the ending or the solution in that state of flow of nama and rupa. Only then, when you see that, you overcome the neutral feeling. So there are three kinds of feelings: unpleasant feeling, pleasant feeling, and neutral feeling. So in practice, that's what we are doing. Okay, we practice and we are doing, overcome these three kinds of feeling. But why do we try to overcome these three kinds of feelings? What is the purpose of it? What is the benefit of it? But if you look at it, in the unpleasant feeling, in all of our normal state of mind, what happens? Whenever there is an unpleasant feeling, whenever there's the pain, some people would even swear it. Oh, damn it, that bloody pain killing me. What is that? Anger, aversion, dosa. In every unpleasant feeling, they arise. In a normal state of mind, people who are not mindful, people who don't practice seriously and intensely, it arises together with mental state of dosa, anger, aversion, unpleasant. And whenever you have a pleasant feeling, nice feeling, comfortable feeling, peaceful feeling, oh, so peaceful. You're walking by the seawall about 4 o'clock in the morning, the sun rising, nobody there, the air is fresh, oh, fantastic, nice, cool, calm. This is peace. What it is You are loving it. You're craving it. In other words, with every pleasant sensation and feeling, in our normal state of mind, it associates craving, lobha. Lobha associate with it. And there's a neutral feeling. Neutral feeling is neither pleasant or unpleasant. When there is a neither pleasant nor unpleasant, there's a feeling of ignorance, feeling of indifference. You are indifferent. No, nothing touched me. It's okay. In other words, in a normal state of mind, under neutral feelings, there's a feeling of ignorance or not caring. You do not know right and wrong. You don't care means you don't know right and wrong. When you know right and wrong, you do care. You participate. You act. When you don't know, you are totally apart and away from all things. That is ignorance. There is moha. In a neutral feeling, there's a not caring, indifference, moha, avijja, associate with it every time. So now we can see in our everyday 99.99999% of the people's mind, whenever this unpleasant feeling, pleasant feeling, and neutral feeling are arising, there is lobha, there is dosa, and there is moha. They are constantly arising. We are not even aware of it. We are instantly attractive and crave and become attached. We are instantly have aversion and then want to be away. And we are instantly don't care and just, that's it. That's what's happening all the time. When we overcome unpleasant feeling, it means we overcome dosa. When we overcome pleasant feeling, we overcome lobha. When we overcome neutral feeling, we overcome moha. Lobha, dosa, and moha. Greed, anger, and delusion, which is the kilesa, which is attacking all living beings at all time. That is why we practice to overcome these three kinds of feelings. Why? We want to uproot the kilesa, lobha, dosa, and moha. With that, we will conclude our observation, observing respectfully, closely, penetratively to three kinds of vedana or feelings: pleasant, unpleasant, and neutral. And may you be able to overcome these three feelings and stay without kilesa as soon as possible. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Buddham pujemi. Dhammam pujemi. Sangham pujemi.